Remember the first time you got to Anor Londo? That sense of awe, of finally feeling that all your efforts had led you to this moment? Of course you remember. Everyone does. Even if you haven't played the game, you probably still remember. That's how good this part of the game was. Which leads me to the following question. In Dark Souls 3, why the fuck do we start at the High Wall of Lothric? Here's this gorgeous castle that would be a treat to the eyes after going through the other more grey areas of Lothric, but instead of making this a goal location in the story like Anor Londo or Drangleic Castle, they just fucking drop you here after the tutorial for no good reason. So here's my first suggestion. Fix number 1, start the game at the Undead Settlement. The Firelink Shrine in Dark Souls and Majula in Dark Souls 2 had paths to a bunch of different locations that made for a pretty exciting early game. Now sure, most players will often go to the path of least resistance, but if you wanted to, you could totally go to New Londo or the Gutter early on. With just a few changes, the Undead Settlement in Dark Souls 3 could be just like that. You would start at a location where you could immediately choose where to go. Climbing up to the High Wall would be your first objective, but if you wanted to, you could go to other places instead. You could take the path to the Road of Sacrifice and the Firelink Keep from the get-go, and the whole section of the Catacombs of Carthus. Yeah, instead of just being next to the Abyss Walkers for no good reason, they could be right below the catacombs that are already in the settlement, so that you could access at least a part of it from the start. Of course, for this to make sense, you would have to make minor adjustments to the layout of the map, but this is how I would do it. I would make the layout of the areas go from this to this. All these new options in the early game would make creating a new character and playing through the game again a lot more fun. And you know what else would do that too? Fix number 2. Make New Game Plus not suck dick. Here's some ideas that would make New Game Plus way better. Change the enemy locations, add new enemies, replace others, give bosses new attack patterns or even new faces, add a bunch of NPC invaders, just anything other than just adding 20% health and 20% damage to everything in the game and just leaving it as it is. And here's another idea. Add a bunch of items and equipment other than just the +1 and +2 versions of the rings, such as partially upgraded weapons or other useful items. And for the love of God, make the Covenant items drop from PvE enemies more often the higher the new game cycle, so that if you're not able to or you just don't want to play online, you don't have to kill 7,000 Silver Knights. And something else that was already in Dark Souls 2 that would be very easy to implement, reward the player for challenge runs. This would include completing the game under certain conditions like not dying or not drinking any Estus or not leveling up or not hitting the Firekeeper to see what happens, you know, the kind of thing that's pretty much impossible to do. These are just some quick ideas that would make new playthroughs of Dark Souls 3 more enjoyable, but there's something even worse that in my opinion cripples the replayability of this game. And to solve this issue, we really badly need fix number 3. Encourage early build diversity. Alright, let's say you're fucking stupid and you want to make a luck build. You would have to do the following. Step number 1, pick up your weapon of choice. Step number 2, pick up a hollow gem at the Firelink Keep. Step number 3, beat the entire fucking rest of the game until you get to the end of Irithyll Dungeon so you can pick up the Profane Coal that lets you infuse your weapon with hollow. You might as well just fucking beat the game and respec later at Rosaria. If you're going for a hybrid mage of any kind, the earliest you can get most of the gems is Irithyll or Irithyll Dungeon, which is crazy considering you have to beat like 6 or 7 bosses before you can get there. To solve this problem, the upgrading materials should be scattered in more diverse places that are earlier on in the playthrough, and the whole coal system should just be fucking removed, so that you don't have to beat half the game before you can infuse your weapon. And of course, if they also allow you to infuse bows, catalysts, and boss weapons, that would be really nice too. Also on the topic of bosses, fix number 4. Get rid of gimmicky boss fights. Dark Souls 3 has too many bosses that have the potential to be a lot of fun, but that are ruined because the developers decided that there should be one way to cheese them to death, as opposed to fighting them properly. Using the environment to help kill a boss is a good thing, but not if it encourages the players to just keep doing that. It's like if you missed the plunging attack from the tutorial of Dark Souls 1, and the game was like, nope, you can't kill the boss normally now, you just have to get back there and try again until you get it. That would be stupid, right? So why the fuck do they do it in Dark Souls 3? But don't think that I forgot about the multiplayer aspect of this game, because there's plenty to fix there too. In the Ringed City DLC, we got 2 spells that the players can decide to hold instead of casting right away. And these spells are actually a lot of fun to use. So how about this? Fix number 6. Make all spells holdable. Professional PvP whiner Scott John was the first one to suggest this change, and now I can totally see why he did it. This minor alteration would immediately spice up the game of all casters, and perhaps it would even make them more viable. For instance, you could cast Fire and Hail and then hold it until your opponent roll right into it, or you could hold the Way of White Corona and then never actually release it because that spell is fucking garbage. But yeah, overall this would be a minor change that could make a big difference. An occasional throwback to the previous games of the series is something that most people will appreciate, but Dark Souls 3 overdoes it. It's almost impossible to meet anyone in this game that isn't a blatant reference to a character that we're already familiar with. Reference to Dark Souls 1 locations are everywhere. But hey, they tried to balance it out by also adding some Dark Souls 2 references in the DLC. Like the car inside the room that's too big to fit through any of the doors, which is a very clever connection to the room in the Forest of the Fallen Giants. But still, it's very difficult for a game to be original and feel fresh when everything in it is just a rehash of things we've seen before. One of the reasons why Bloodborne was so amazing was because they didn't fucking try to add Solaire in it. So in summary, fix number 7, tone down the references to previous games. But never mind what I just said, because you know what's one thing that Dark Souls 3 could copy from the previous games? Fix number 8. Not putting a bonfire in every fucking corner. In these games there's bonfires fucking everywhere, even in places where they make no sense at all, and also in every single boss room for some reason. There's a decent amount of shortcuts, and the level design, even if it's a bit linear, it's not bad at all. But you would never notice any of this, because you're gonna spend half the fucking playthrough warping from place to place without even needing to explore or move at all. Here are some of the worst examples of bonfire placements. And of course, we couldn't just end this video without complaining about the multiplayer at least twice. And even though the PvP in Dark Souls 3 is widely regarded as the least complex of the 3 games, it's still extremely difficult to find a change that won't fix number 9. Make consecutive rolls consume more stamina. Thank you, Scott John, and with that, I think we've made it to the end. Now originally this video was going to be a top 10 video, but unfortunately during the recording it seems that I got banned. Now how I got self-banned I actually have no idea. As far as I know, the only thing that I used the cheat engine for was the free cam. But well, I guess we'll never know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. No idea at all.